which is used only to measure the temperature of human body. But do you think that we only need to measure the temperature of human body? That is the only place where we need a device to measure temperature? Not really. There are a lot of other things where we also want to know the temperature. For example, we want to know the temperature of the environment during daytime, during night. We want to know the temperature of boiling water. We want to know the temperature of a cup of coffee, which is quite hot. The temperature of ice cream. So how do we measure the temperature of all these other objects? Now, in clinical thermometer, we saw that the clinical thermometer only has a specific range of measurement. It can only measure temperature which falls below 35 degrees Celsius to 42 degrees Celsius. So now if I try to use the same clinical thermometer to measure the boiling point of water, the thermometer would break, because boiling point of water is far more when compared to the scale which is available with this clinical thermometer. So that is why came up the laboratory thermometer, which has a more broader scale. So here the temperature ranges from minus 10 degrees Celsius to 110 degrees Celsius. So you see a huge range of temperatures can be measured using this thermometer. So it is used to measure temperatures of a variety of objects. So now you might say that, okay, then this can also measure the temperature of human body, because the human body's temperature range also falls within this range. So we will see that limitations a little later, that how laboratory thermometer is different from clinical thermometer and why it cannot be used to measure human body temperature. So this thermometer can be used to measure temperature of other objects, like maybe temperature of water, temperature of any other liquid, temperature of anything actually. You can measure using this laboratory thermometer. Now, how do we read a laboratory thermometer? Now, the basic concept of reading any thermometer remains the same. You just need to find out how much does one small line represent in terms of degrees, and that's how you can just read the thermometer. But the way temperature is measured using a laboratory thermometer is little different from that we do with clinical thermometer. So let's see how laboratory thermometer is different. So here the reading needs to be noted while the thermometer bulb is in contact with the object. So one important difference between laboratory and clinical thermometer in terms of construction is that the laboratory thermometer does not have a kink. So in this case, you do not have a kink. Therefore, the mercury level falls back immediately as soon as you take the thermometer out of that object. So object here refers to the object whose temperature we want to measure. So let us look at this picture which is given on the screen. Let's say this vessel contains water. And let's say this is, and we want to measure the temperature of this water. So what do? We have put the thermometer here, or let's say here you have ice, and we have put the thermometer here. So this is the thermometer. Now, as long as the thermometer remains inside the ice, in that case what happens? The bulb of the thermometer remains in contact with the ice. Or here in this case, the ice is being melted to form water here. So the bulb of the thermometer, if it is in contact with water, it will be able to measure the temperature of the water. Because if the bulb is in contact with water, the water will heat up the bulb, so the mercury will expand, the mercury level will rise, and then we will read the level till which the mercury level has gone, and that is the reading of the thermometer. But in this case, if you take, like how in case of human body, we place the thermometer under our tongue, then we take it out and then we read it. Why is that possible? Because the mercury level doesn't fall back. But in this case, if you try to do the same thing, like first you insert the thermometer inside water and then you take it out. As soon as you take it out, the mercury level will fall back. So you will not be able to read the temperature. So that is one very important thing which you should remember when you are using laboratory thermometer. So whenever you use laboratory thermometer, you have to insert the thermometer and then immediately you have to read the thermometer to get the accurate temperature. So this temperature must be read while the thermometer is inside the water or ice or whichever object's temperature you want to measure. So that is first thing that has to be remembered. Secondly, the thermometer has to be held upright. This is also different from that of clinical thermometer. In clinical thermometer, you just put it, whether it is little slant or it is a little sideways, doesn't matter. Just that the bulb should be under your tongue and the bulb should be in contact with the surface of your mouth. So that's the only criteria. But in this case, you should not tilt the thermometer, because when you tilt the thermometer, again, as you change the position of the thermometer, the kind of heat that is being available to the bulb also changes, and therefore the measurement of the thermometer also changes. So it is very important that in case of laboratory thermometer, it is hold exactly upright. So, and that's why you will see that in most of the laboratories, the thermometer is also provided with a clamp stand. As you can see here, you have a stand here. So nobody is going to disturb the orientation of the thermometer. Just fix the thermometer, put it inside the solution or the object whose temperature you want to see, and then immediately you note the temperature. So that's the best way to use laboratory thermometer. Now, these two things are important in laboratory thermometer. They are also how laboratory thermometer is different from clinical thermometer. And this also tells you why it cannot be used to measure human body temperature. Because in human beings, is it possible that you place the thermometer under your tongue and simultaneously you read the temperature? That is not possible, right? You have to take the thermometer out and then read the temperature. Now, as soon as you do that with the laboratory thermometer, your mercury level is going to fall back. So, you are not going to get any temperature. So, laboratory thermometer is not going to work as a clinical thermometer, even though it has the temperature range of human beings, but it cannot measure the temperature of human body. Another important thing to be noted is that the bulb should never touch the surface of the container. For example, this is the container here, because if the bulb touches the surface of the container, again the proper heating of the bulb gets disturbed. So we want the bulb to be surrounded from all sides with the substance whose temperature needs to be measured. For example, here if we are measuring temperature of water, we want this bulb to be surrounded with water from all sides. So the bulb should never touch the surface of the container which is containing the liquid whose temperature needs to be measured. So now let us look at some of the precautions which have to be taken while we are dealing with a laboratory thermometer. So first thing is again the same, we have to handle it with care to prevent breaking, because even inside the laboratory thermometer there is mercury, because construction wise it is almost the same as the clinical thermometer. So it is made up of glass, and inside the glass tube you have mercury. So if it breaks, then disposing the mercury will become a tedious job. Wash before and after use, again it is also a similar precaution which has to be followed for all thermometers. Hold thermometer such that the bulb is surrounded by the object on all sides, and this object refers to the object whose temperature needs to be measured. So that is why if you want to measure temperature of a cup of coffee, so insert the thermometer such that the bulb is completely dipped inside the coffee, but at the same time the bulb should not touch the surface of the cup which contains the coffee. Do not tilt the thermometer while measurement, because when you tilt the thermometer, the reading also changes, because as you saw that here the mercury level falls back very easily. Now the same question. Why can't we use laboratory thermometer to measure body temperature? Now, as I mentioned, if you just look at the scale of measurement which is provided in both clinical and laboratory thermometer. So what do you see? In clinical thermometer, we can measure temperature, any temperature falling between 35 degrees Celsius to 40 degrees Celsius. Now, if you look at a laboratory thermometer, you can measure any temperature between minus 10 degrees Celsius to 110 degrees Celsius. So basically, this temperature range also falls within the laboratory thermometer's temperature range. But the problem is that with laboratory thermometer, as soon as you take it out from the substance, the mercury level immediately falls down. So when you put the thermometer inside the mouth of a patient, and as soon as you will take it out of the mouth, so the mercury level is going to fall back. So you will not be able to read the temperature. So this is the reason why laboratory thermometer cannot be used to measure body temperature. Thank you. Please visit www.examfear.com to watch more educational videos with a better experience. Please do not forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel for latest updates. Thank you once again. Hello friends, this video on Heat Part 7 is brought to you by examfear.com. No more fear from exam. Now, we looked at both clinical as well as laboratory thermometers. So, everywhere we see that it is always chosen mercury, which is used as the liquid inside the thermometer. Now, what is so special in mercury that it is in demand for making thermometers? Firstly, it is liquid at room temperature, and we want a liquid so that the liquid can actually move through the tube. So you see, this is the thermometer. Now along the length of the thermometer, had it been a solid, it would have not have that much of motion. That mobility would have not been there. But since it is a fluid, so it can like flow from one place to another. So since it is a liquid, so that is a good thing. Secondly, it has high coefficient of expansion. Now, what do we mean by high coefficient of thermal expansion? Expansion means anything which is expanding, anything which is increasing in its volume. Thermal expansion means anything which is expanding due to heat. So, mercury has high coefficient of expansion means that even if it is heated very slightly, mercury expands noticeably. So, even if you apply little bit of heat, so it will start expanding. So, and that expansion will be noticeable. So now if you start using a liquid which has low coefficient of expansion, in that case, what will happen? That liquid will not be able to give you very small temperatures. So because when you apply small temperatures, that liquid will not expand. So when the liquid doesn't expand, you really don't see anything, or you really do not, your thermometer doesn't read anything. So this is one of the most important reasons why mercury is used in thermometers. Besides this, it has a property that it does not stick to the walls of the thermometer. Now, if it starts sticking to the walls of the thermometer, in that case, again, it will not be able to flow along the length of the tube. So, that is also another important thing. It has a shiny appearance which makes it easier to read the thermometer because that shiny line can be seen distinctly. It has a low melting point somewhere around minus 38 degrees Celsius and a very high boiling point. So therefore the chances of this mercury being melted or getting boiled is very less, because normally, now if an object has very high melting point or very low boiling point, then what happens is maybe even at room temperature it might start boiling. Or as soon as you expose it to some hot substances, it might start boiling. So all those risks are not there because it has a low melting point. So it will start melting only at a very, very low temperature. Similarly, it will start boiling only at a very high temperature. So that is also advantageous for mercury to be used in thermometers. However, in spite of so many advantages of mercury, there is one disadvantage which is being faced these days, that mercury being very poisonous, it is very difficult to get disposed if by chance the thermometer breaks. Therefore, these days a substitute of mercury has been found, and that is alcohol. So a lot of digital thermometers have come up, and in a lot of thermometers these days, instead of mercury, alcohol is being used, because alcohol also has a very high coefficient of expansion, and at the same time it is not that poisonous as mercury. So with this, thank you. Please visit hotness or coldness of a body. How do we measure the hotness? Using temperature. And how do we measure temperature? Using a thermometer. So we discussed all that. So now we want to understand how exactly heat gets transferred from one object to another. Like when you place the thermometer under your tongue, so we say that the bulb is getting heated up. Why? Because the bulb is getting heat from your heated body. So heat is actually getting transferred from your body to the bulb. So here we are going to discuss about how heat gets transferred, under what circumstances it will get transferred from one body to another. Now, have you tried any of these? Have you ever seen something being cooked in your house, in the kitchen? So even if you have not cooked it yourself, have you ever seen your mom cooking something in the kitchen? So what does she do? She normally takes a vessel, maybe a pan or something, and she puts it on the stove. Right? So the vessel contains the vegetables or whatever she wants to prepare. And what happens? How the food gets prepared? The food gets prepared with heat. Now, as you heat the vessel, so the vessel gets heated up, and inside whatever you have, maybe the vegetables and all, they get fried up or they get cooked up, they get boiled. So how this heat transfer takes place from the stove to that vessel, how the vessel is getting heated up, because heat is being transferred from the fire to the vessel. So from the source of heat, it is actually getting transferred to another object, and again from the vessel it is being transferred to the contents which are present inside the vessel, like the vegetables or leaves or whatever. So what's happening? Heat transfer is happening. Similarly, if you have a candle which is well lit, and if you try to place your hand over the candle, maybe keeping some distance, how do you feel? You feel warm. So why do you feel warm? Because the heat is getting transferred from the candle to your hand. So heat transfer is taking place. Again, when you wash clothes, how do you dry them? So the clothes contain a lot of water immediately after you wash them. So when these wet clothes are kept in the sun, what happens? The sun gives a lot of heat, so the temperature is increasing. So the heat is being transferred from the sun to the clothes, and over some time, over a period of time, these clothes get dried up. So in all these scenarios, we see that the heat is being transferred from the source to some other object. Now here in this section, we are going to discuss how is heat being transferred from one object to another? What are the various ways by which heat can be transferred? So how do we define heat transfer? It is the transfer of heat energy from one system to another, or from one part of the system to another by virtue of temperature difference. Now, when I talk about heat transfer, it is not necessary that it always has to be from the stove to the vessel. It also happens that the same object gets experience heat transfer from one part to another. So let us say, if you have a pan, so that pan handle is also made up of the same metal. So what happens? Now when you heat the pan, so initially the pan becomes very hot, but gradually the handle also starts becoming hot. So gradually the heat gets transferred from one part of the same pan to the other. And how this heat transfer happens? Due to temperature difference. So heat will get transferred only when the heat will get transferred from one object to another, or from one part to another, only when those two objects or those two parts of the object are at different temperatures. If both of them are at the same temperature, then there will be no heat transfer taking place. So temperature difference plays a major role, in fact the most important role, in the process of heat transfer. For example, what happens when you touch a glass of cold drink which is completely chilled, where as soon as you touch it, you feel cold, right? Now, you touch it for a few seconds and then you remove your hand. What happens to your fingers? So your fingers become cold. Why is it cold even after you have left the glass? That's because while you were touching the glass, there was heat transfer. Why there was heat transfer? Because there was temperature difference between the two objects. What are the two objects in this case? The first object is the glass. The second object is your hand. So in this case, the temperature of your hand was more. So let us say this was the temperature of your hand and this was the temperature of the glass. So in this case, temperature of your hand was more than the temperature of the glass, because the glass was very chilled. So as soon as these two come in contact, as soon as you touch the glass, heat starts getting transferred from one object to another, and heat always flows from a body which is at a higher temperature to a body which is at a lower temperature. So heat starts flowing from your hand to the glass. So therefore your hand is actually losing heat. So when you lose heat, what happens? You tend to become colder, and that is why when you leave the glass, even after that your hand has become colder, because it has lost a lot of heat to the glass. And if you touch the glass now, it will be comparatively a little more warm than before. Similarly, when you touch a hot glass of coffee, what happens? In this case, the hand becomes hot, because in this case the heat transfer takes place from the cup to your hand, because here the cup is at a higher temperature than your hand. So this is how heat transfer takes place. So heat transfer will take place only if there is a temperature difference. Now in case you are holding a glass which is at the room temperature, it is neither cold nor is it hot. So in that case, the temperature of your hand also remains the same. That's because there was no heat transfer which took place, because both the objects were at the same temperature. So there was no temperature difference. So this is how we define heat transfer. Now the question